Welcome back to Two Dudes Talking Motorcycles. This is episode 23, and my name is Gleb, and you can and you can find me on Instagram at GlebLapham.
And I am Mitch, and I am Meets to the Beach on Instagram.
And you can also follow our podcast on Instagram at tdtmotorcycles, and you can also send us emails at tdtmotorcycles@gmail.com. Feel free to send us any comments, questions, concerns, suggestions, rider stories, pictures of your bike, anything you feel is relevant to motorcycles.
Send more pictures of your bikes, please.
Yeah, we like to see your bikes.
Yeah.
All of them.
A bike pic.
Yeah, send us a bike pic.
a big pic.
A big pic. So on today's episode, we kind of wanted to talk about motorcycle fitness, sort of. We couldn't think of a better,
almost like rider health, I guess.
Yeah,
like
rider health. Kind of
fitness
like,
is a part of it.
Yeah, kind of like what you should, or I guess what we found is good to like have. We're not going to tell you how to work out and what to do.
Sign up for our 3-week fitness program
and tell all your friends about it so they can tell their friends about it, and then we all get money somehow.
Nothing like that.
Yeah, but we kind of just wanted to talk overall, like just a general like health, like what we kind of learned from our years of riding, of like trying to be and stay healthy to ride, so you're not either like wearing out too quick, so you're able to like pick up your bike and properly maneuver it, hold it, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, and just some stuff to
your riding journey.
Yeah, and other things that will like help like keep you sharp while you're riding, so you're not like tired or like just not riding in optimal condition like mentally. For your awareness and everything like that. So. But I think before we do that, we have a few housekeeping issues. So
yes.
So firstly, Ryan, you emailed us, and I didn't get a chance to email you back from our last episode, where we had compared the Rebel 500 and the Kawasaki Eliminator. And Ryan here had actually said that perhaps like the new Rebel Scrambler that's coming out came out last year, that would actually have been a better comparison.
Interesting. Okay.
Which I didn't even think about. I've honestly forgot about the Rebel Scrambler.
Yeah.
So
maybe for the next episode we kind of look into that and maybe give it a little correction / compare and contrast. Type deal. Okay. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah. No. So really, it was a very long email. So thank you for that. It was awesome of you. So, So it's nice that you can ride year round as well. That was that's very lucky of you.
I am jealous.
Yeah. And I had looked at, like, I think in here, Ryan mentions that like sometimes dealerships say they offer storage for their, you can rent out storage.
Interesting.
And I think like Harrison, like Morgan has mentioned too, it's like, oh, you can keep it here if I buy our bike, but I'm just like, I don't know how much that would cost. And it's the same thing. It's like, it's still farther away from me.
Yeah. So that makes sense.
But yeah. And then the last thing from Ryan's email that I did just want to throw out, that this is brand new information to me. So if this helps you guys, shout out to Ryan from Baltimore. He says that he's done a lot of work on his bikes and cars, just on the side of the street. But he's got there was like a tool ride share. Let's see. Yeah. Co-op, or not ride share. Yeah. Co-op tool places. So I've never heard of that. So like for him, so if you're in the Baltimore area, his example is Balto Moco. So yeah, it's not necessarily like motorcycle specific. You just have to have a safety course, but you can take it, work on your bike, and just get access to tools that maybe you can't afford otherwise or don't have the space for.
Oh, I've
never heard of a tool co-op. So.
Yeah, I've never heard of that either. I know sort of like auto parts stores, like O'Reilly's, AutoZone, you can like borrow tools for a day from them, and then but I've never heard of like just a co-op tool sharing co-op. But I really like the idea of that.
Same, yeah. Like, especially if you're like us, where you don't have like the space for a whole workshop.
Yeah.
So.
And sometimes you just need that like one very specific tool for like one very specific thing, and you might not need it again. Yeah. So it sucks to have to like go and try to buy it and then maybe return it or to keep it and stuff. But who knows how much it will cost just to do this one little thing.
Yeah. So again, Ryan, that was awesome advice and input from there. Ryan. So hopefully anybody else out there listening can find something like that if it's beneficial to you. So way to go. And I think we'll be mentioning the Scrambler next. So.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sweet.
So that was a little follow up since I didn't get a chance to respond to him yet. So
No, that's awesome.
yeah.
But before we jump into our main topic, we have some fun. We got a chance to try out some new bikes today.
Not a bunch of news, but yeah.
No news today. We'll save that for next week, or next episode. But we did get to try out some new bikes, and we kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that before we jump into our main topic. Should we start off with the start of the show? The start of the demo.
No, let's do
bikes?
the other ones first. Actually,
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? Okay.
Yeah.
So I got to try the bobber, the Triumph Bonneville bobber,
And somebody had asked us to review the bobber.
Yeah, I remember a while back. I
find-
can't remember where the email was.
Yeah.
And then we both got to also try out the Speed Twin.
Yep.
It was a older Speed Twin. It wasn't new, was it?
It was a 2022 Speed Twin.
2022,
But
okay.
It was the one that I've mentioned before that has like it brings in like the original, not original, but like the really nice looking dual analog dials.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Plus, I had like the Brembo brakes and the upside down forks and stuff like that. So it wasn't. So this is kind of like the more upgraded, sportier version of the. Like of the Bonneville line from Triumph. And this one was a used bike. It wasn't like a brand new, it wasn't like a demo bike. It was a used bike. So it was straight piped. So it probably affected the performance a little bit, whereas compared to like a stock model. But what did you think of the Speed Twin?
I really liked it. It was with the Bonneville weight, it has this it just feels planted to the ground, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
So, so it was very responsive too. So it's a heavier bike from the other one that we both rode. I really liked it. So I'm just like, it just reaffirmed, it's like, yeah, Bonnevilles, man, they get me.
I really enjoyed it as well, but I don't know if I still don't know if I would be like the Bonneville I would buy. I'm still leaning more towards the T120 just because it has that more of classic motorcycle look.
T120?
I have not ridden the T120. I do want to ride it. Maybe next time they have either a used one or a demo one.
Yeah,
I'll try to go in there and ride it. Also, we ride our bikes over at Eurosports Utah. So if you are local to the Utah area or in the neighboring states, and you want to look at or buy some European brands, Triumph, Ducati, or BMW. Stop by those guys because they are pretty awesome there.
They are, they have some demos, and then
all their staff is super knowledgeable about all the different bikes they sell. So they're a good group of folks.
Yep. We're just happy customers from them.
Yeah, that's true.
Like we're not getting endorsed or anything really. We're just like these are the guys we go to and they've worked for us. Like there are other dealers, like not Triumph or BMW, Ducati dealers around, but they just offer like good.
They just offer good service.
Spot, yeah. So go check them out.
But yeah, the Speed Twin, I don't know, like I did enjoy riding it. I had fun with it, but I'm still leaning towards the T120, kind of like that more classic upright motorcycle look.
Yeah. I want to ride. It's been a long time since I rode a T120 because I love the look of them.
Yeah.
They just have a good like classic vibe to them,
Yeah.
And the Street Twin's cool. It's just like, and I like it. But like where it has like upside down forks and things, it's kind of a little too modernish still at the same time. I don't know. Like I think I would still get one.
Really?
But again, I would want to compare them side by side.
Yeah.
Cause again, I had a lot of fun on it. It was a short ride for me.
Yeah. That thing hauls ass too.
Yeah,
it was a very, very fast bike.
Well, and you had mentioned the brakes when you got back from your ride.
Yeah.
And you said like, oh, they bite.
They bite.
They bite hard. And which is, I thought once I was on it, I was like, oh, that's interesting. So when I got on it and I got up to a decent speed, within the law, obviously. And,
obviously.
And the Bonnevilles, they are a heavier bike than the other one that we rode. But those Brembos, they just stop that thing.
They really do.
They're nice
they stop
brakes.
it on a dime. And they feel pretty good too. Like the controls, like the throttle, the clutch, the brakes, both front and back, felt like they are right where they need to be.
Yeah.
Didn't feel like the clutch bit too early or engaged too early. I don't feel like the brakes were a little grabby. But I think that's just one of those things you kind of get used to.
I forget how many miles were on that one too, how new it was, or
I don't remember what
it was. A 2022.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Decent price though. It was like
it was 10 grand.
Yeah, 10 grand.
Yeah. So it was still enjoyable to ride, but I think, I don't know, for me the classic T120 is still kind of like, I just like the look of it.
Yeah.
A little bit more because it looks like the quintessential motorcycle base.
Yeah. I've only ridden one T120 and it was a customized one. Like it had the Fox Racing suspension done on it. It had a 2-to-1 exhaust. Like, so none of it was really stock. Oh, and it had they replaced the bars with the Triumph with the Bonneville Bobber bars.
Oh, interesting.
So it was different. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
And speaking of the Bobber,
yay!
I also got a chance to try out Bobber. They had a used one that was barely used.
It was
23 400 miles on it, so it's basically a brand new bike.
Yeah.
And I got to take that out for a spin, and I had a lot of fun with it. I think one of the biggest things I remember from it is that the engine on it just feels like it has such a long power, such a long power curve, because like I was in first gear and it's a really long first gear. Then you switch to second and it just keeps lumbering up. Yeah. Not slow. Like it's still fast, a pretty fast and quick bike. Not as fast. It didn't feel quite as quick as the Speed Twin.
Okay.
At least going through gears, but you're just like picking up the speed and kind of picking up, churning through the gears, and they're really long gears. And I was like, oh, this thing just wants to keep on going. Yeah. It's just like it's not a red line. It's just keeps on going. And I didn't mind like I thought I wouldn't find it too comfortable to sit on, because it's kind of got that, you kind of sit further back and your hands are a little bit further forward, not quite cruiser ish or but your feet are still aren't really forward on it. They're more straight down. But I didn't find it too uncomfortable. I didn't feel like too much pressure in the wrists or anything like that.
That's good.
From like I did on other similar bikes, or like bikes similar to that.
Yeah.
Like I remember I tried out the Indian Scout one time, and I remember after just like 20 minutes of riding on that, I was like, I can feel so much pressure in my wrists, because I feel like I have to like really lean forward and hold myself up with my hands.
I didn't get to try that the Scout Bobber, so I did.
Oh, okay.
So that's interesting. I'll have to try the Bobber next week.
So I thought I thought the Triumph Bobber was way more comfortable than the Indian Scout, but it's probably still not kind of like a bike. I don't know if it'd be one I would buy. Yeah, I absolutely love the look of it, because for those that are listening, if you're not familiar with what the Triumph Bobber looks like, the Bonneville Bobber is the back of the bike basically looks like it's just floating there. Yeah. So the design of it's got this massive monoshock right underneath the seat. And it looks like the seat and the back.
It looks pretty sick.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the back wheel and the back wheel cover, fairing, whatever it's called, is like, it looks like it's just floating there in midair. And I think it's such a cool look, especially from the side, like a profile look of it is amazing. But yeah, I'm still kind of more set on the T120, just for that classic motorcycle look. I did feel pretty badass on the Bobber though.
Yeah, that's how I felt on the Speed Twin.
Yeah,
because it was so the one that we rode too, it had some custom exhaust, like aftermarket exhaust, and it was very loud.
It was very loud. It was louder than I would like my bike to be.
Yeah.
Plus, I think I also really like how most of the Bonneville line of bikes, how they have like those long sweeping exhausts that go all the way to the back, and it was kind of like missing that aesthetic on this one.
Yeah, it's like in a world where I was to get that Speed Twin, I would invest in like getting like some British Custom Sleeper Pros for it, just because they sound amazing. But it was nice, like when you're at speed and going, like you did get it did sound really cool.
Yeah.
I felt pretty cool riding that
same.
one, so
but those two, while exciting, were not the most exciting bike we both got to ride today, because today we got to ride the Triumph, the brand new 2024, 2023, one of the two.
Yeah.
Speed or Street Triple
RS,
the 765 cc, and that thing was an absolute blast.
Oh gosh,
it was such a great bike to ride,
and it was in that really beautiful yellow, gold yellow.
Oh, like
we'll
if
have to put a picture up of it on for them, for the YouTube people, because it was just we'll put it on Instagram too.
It was such a beautiful bike, and if I could afford another bike at the moment and had a place to put it,
yeah,
I would be very tempted to buy that bike.
If I had a place to put it, I would also be very tempted.
Yeah.
Because like it's getting to that point. Like riding season's gonna be sparking up here soon. Oh man.
And what was your favorite part of that bike?
I'm trying to decide if I just want to get it out there or build up to why, but right off the bat that I noticed, and this is like a small like quality of life thing, right? You get on this bike and you turn it on, the exhaust note and the volume for it,
so good.
It almost doesn't need an aftermarket exhaust.
Yeah,
I don't think it does. Like unless like you're doing it for performance reasons, and you're gonna tune it and everything. But as it is, it sounds amazing.
To me, it sounded like almost like a race car. Not quite like.
I think it goes without saying that this episode's like intro for the engine sound is gonna be the Street Triple RS, the one that we rode.
And like, and the thing is, it's like the what was I gonna say? The exhaust note to me just sounds like not a sports car, but like an actual race car. It's like this rainy, like loud,
smooth.
Not super loud, but smooth exhaust note. And that was the first thing I noticed. And even when you're like riding in the helmet, you just hear it's just just like such a smooth,
it's insane,
smooth engine.
Yeah.
And like whatever magic Triumph pumped into that engine, it works because it rode really, really well.
Yeah. Oh, that's and so that was the one thing that was the first thing that I noticed. And it's like that doesn't sound like a stock exhaust.
Yeah, but it is. It's still stock.
Yeah.
And it's just such a good looking bike. I love the whole like floating headlight look that Triumph has on them, coupled with that beautiful like orangish yellow color.
Yeah.
It's just such a good looking bike.
One thing that was really nice with riding it, and so if you haven't ridden a Street Triple, like find a demo or someone who has one and try it. But that floating headlight that Gleb just mentioned, when you're sitting on it, and it's like a semi-aggressive stance, riding stance. So just when your helmet and your peripheral, you just get this like bubble floating below you, and you're so low to the ground. If you're used to an adventure bike, that's like, it's
not something you see. Yeah.
It's not something that I'm used to. And you're so low to the ground. You just got this little bubble ahead of you, and you're
and just not like just the road in front of you.
Yeah. It's a really nice ride. The TFT was nice. It was easy to read.
Yeah. I did like that.
Good use.
And it is a fast bike.
Yes.
It is a very quick bike. There was at one point where I was like, all right, let's open this thing up a little bit and see how it does. I could feel the front not lifting up, but I could feel like the weight coming off the front wheel. I'm pretty sure the bike probably cut off some power to kind of like bring it back down.
Yeah.
Because I didn't turn off traction control or anything like that, because I was the first person to ride it.
Yeah.
Like
he was the first person
to even ride that bike. Not even like anyone at the dealership had a chance to ride it yet. So the guy was helping me out, Zeus. He was telling me like, these tires are brand new. It's cold outside. Just like take it a little slow at first. So after I did like initial loop and then on the way back, I was
still had to be we had to be nice to it. One, because it's not our bike, but two, it hasn't had the brake in.
Yep. So. But I decided to like give it a little bit of an open up, and I could feel that front end getting lighter, and I was like, okay, this thing has just for reference, it's got 128 horsepower and 59 pound-feet of torque, but it's got a lot of power in a bike that's not very heavy.
It's a really light bike too.
So it is wet weight is 414 pounds.
Wow.
So 128 horsepower and 414 pounds.
We need to be better at math so we can just spit out like the power to weight ratios.
And
it's big, man. It's
a powerful bike. And this got me thinking like, okay, this is already plenty fast. I can't even imagine what the 1200, the speed triple is like. Because to me that sounds scary. Because this was fast.
You're crazy if that's your go-to bike. Like that's like your main ride. Because that's just so much power. Like it's
so wild.
That's
like this was plenty enough for me that I'm like, I would be fine with this bike.
No, and I was like, coming from like a chunky adventure bike.
Same.
I'm like, I was a little intimidated by it at first. Like I had to like get into the groove of it, and because that thing will take off. It's definitely, I wouldn't call that a beginner bike.
No, no, it's got a lot of power behind it.
But then But with saying that too, what was really nice is that the riding through traffic and everything, it still felt behaved.
Like, it did feel behaved. It felt very nimble, which goes a lot for like a lot of the Triumph like street trip. Even my Tiger, just feels like such a nimble bike. You can just like lean back and forth, and the bike will just instantly respond to what you're doing. And it feels like it's balanced pretty well. Like going at slow speeds and stuff like that. Never have I felt like I wanted to tilt too far one way or another.
The turning radius on it for slow speed is on a dime. No, I think they just knocked it out of the park with that.
They really did. Yeah.
And overall, I was just gonna say it's a very like precise and refined bike, but it's like wild too.
Yeah. And so, I honestly can't think of really like any big negatives and stuff like that.
No, honestly, like, if I can have more space in the future for another bike, like I really want another Bonneville, like a street oriented Bonneville.
But that street triple might have to tempting.
Come up because that. And I've ridden a street triple before. Like I rode like a 2022 street triple. That one might have also been an RS, but from like the new bump up, like there's a difference. From my memory, like it must have been a year ago that I rode the older one, but it felt like I rode a street triple for the first time again.
Yeah. So it's a fantastic way. If you get a chance to try it out, go ahead.
No, absolutely.
Should we move on to our main
really
topic?
Quick? Yeah, I just wanted to say too is like one thing that they like, cause the guys at Eurosport Utah mentioned too. It's just like, street triples they would sell. They would do well. But now it's just like these street triples are just gone before they're like they can't keep them in stock almost. So
which is great. Good news for Triumph. I feel like Triumph's really had some bangers lately. Like between the Tiger, which has been a really popular adventure bike,
they got something in the water triple, like Hinckley, because they're doing something right.
they're doing some good stuff, and we might get an opportunity to try out the new their new 400s, their new like entry level bikes.
Scrambler X. We might be able to try that. So soon.
Keep make sure to listen to the future episodes to catch that. And tell your friends about us.
Yeah.
And if you're shopping for new motorcycle gear, feel free to use our Revzilla affiliate link in the description down below. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but it will give us a little bit of cash, a little bit of money back, so we can help, so we can grow this podcast and get better equipment and all that kind of stuff. Or if you're not planning on buying anything, you can still feel like giving us some money. Feel free to go to buymeacoffee.com/tdtmotorcycles and throw some coffees our way.
Yeah, it's just going to go back to the show because we just want to be able to keep it growing. And
but would like to have the show be self-sustaining. And stuff eventually, and also, but enough to also save money to get new and better equipment and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So main topic.
I think so. Yeah.
Motorcycle fitness. When you first got your first motorcycle, almost 4 years ago now, huh?
Yeah. It'd be 4 years in May.
Yep. Me too. Oh my God, no way. What was kind of like, what did you think? What did you kind of expect you would need to do, like health wise or physical wise, to be able to like ride it and be able to maneuver it and like pick it up, take it off the kickstand and stuff like that.
So that was 2020, and so I took like the MSF, and I was in pretty good shape back then. I wasn't astonishing or anything, but I was in pretty good shape. The job I had at the time, I had to be in shape for it.
Yeah.
So it really wasn't like too bad for me getting out there. Like one thing I started doing as a new rider, I limbered up, I would stretch, and then like there was like sometimes like where I wasn't riding, it'd be night or, whatever. Once I did get my bike, and I would like sit on it and just kind of like lean it over and then like push it back up to see like how heavy, like, okay, this bike is X amount of pounds. How much does that feel at this angle? Like what?
Nice.
So I would do that a little bit within reason from there, and then, but what like really helped me like figure out what I had to do or what I had to like get stronger at in terms of dropping it, since that's what we're going to be going over here first, is that like during slow speed maneuvers, I haven't dropped a bike yet, knock on wood, but through my slow speed maneuvers, you have mess ups and things, right? And then you got to be able to catch yourself from there. So it's like there were a few close calls for me that I went over a little further than I wanted to.
And that's such a scary feeling too, because at that point you're just scrambling to catch it and make sure you don't further drop it.
You know, if it's your first bike and it's brand new and you know, and everything from there. So it was a lot of that and just getting it back up. So, you know, when I would exercise, I would focus on something that would like help me. Like I would do like the side lunges or whatever you call them, the side to sides. So legs.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, from there and going from there. So that's what I did to start out with, just to like make sure I could stay limber from there. And then when I got a really big bike, the Scrambler, I did have one moment. I rode up Little Cottonwood Canyon and I came up to the top. And I was doing some slow speed to come to a stop, and then I was gonna like get off the bike, take some pictures. I goofed up, and I was there's at a slight incline.
Yeah.
So I started to go over the wrong way, the side, not kickstand side.
Oh no!
And I caught it, but I was still pretty used to the weight of my Rebel.
Yeah.
And then with that leverage out there, you know, you're out further. So I caught it, but I was fighting against the incline. And gravity, but I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it before. It was like in that moment I was like, this bike is not touching the ground.
Yeah.
And I took everything I had and bad form, but I got it up and I pulled something like in my groin or my hip.
Yeah. I had a similar experience with my Tiger when I got that, because it was also much bigger, heavier bike than my previous Honda that I had. Because I remember like moving my Honda in and out of the garage, it was a piece of cake. I mean, that thing, you just like roll it up the driveway, back down. It was super easy just because it was like a much lighter bike. Then you go over to the Tiger, and it's a much heavier bike. It's still well balanced, but definitely noticeably heavier. And I remember I was leaving my driveway to take it to its first the break-in service, and I was like, my driveway's on an incline, so I tried to like churn it, and I didn't really have enough speed going, so it kind of just like churned, but also started tilting, and I was like, no.
Yeah.
And same thing, just like full force on not the kickstand side, like on my leg, and I'm just like, it's not going down.
Yeah.
And I just was like, okay, we need to actually. And I was like, okay, Gleb, you actually need to get the bike moving to make it churn better too, and not just standing at pretty much 1 mile an hour or less.
Yeah. Well, and with the Scrambler, my first close call with the Scrambler, at that time, like I wasn't as in good a shape as I was when I started riding.
Yeah.
You know, I moved to like a more remote and a remote position, and so I just wasn't as active. It was winterish still.
Yeah.
So, you know, and so it's just like, so I had to ride home in pain, get home. I don't think I could ride for like 2 days. I could like kind of just hobble around because it was just something in my hip and my groin area.
That sucks.
It hurt. Like, I just did something wrong. So it just goes into that. And I know we've mentioned like, hey, make sure you're able to lift up your bike and be strong. And you know, it's like, but this is going to be more. So just to reiterate that as riding season starts, if you're like us, you may not have been as active as you were during the summer. You're more active than I am now. I'm working on it. So
snowboarding helps.
Yeah. So, so it was, so as we're ramping into this season, it's just going to be good to, let's just go over it again. It's good for us too. So, you know, but yeah, what have you done? Like you have your legs from snowboarding. So what do you mean? Like, well, you're probably pretty strong right now in your legs.
Oh yeah. So, at least I like to pretend that I am. But no, I think snowboarding definitely does help. But it's not really also like it's not too much of a strength exercise. I'm not lifting weight. I'm more just holding myself up. Yeah. If you ever done wall sits when you were in the high school gym, it's basically like doing that, but for an entire like 15 minutes, however long it takes you to get down the run.
Favorite exercise.
You're basically doing like a half squat on the snowboard. So it is a very good leg workout, but it's not like a deadlift or anything like that where you're lifting weight up. I think like if I were to pick like one workout that everyone should try and do is deadlifts. If you're riding a motorcycle, like being able to pick up your bike off the ground is probably like a very good skill to have. And you don't have to straight up just power lift it. Yeah. There is plenty of different like techniques. Well,
there's the walk it up, you walk it backwards technique. You know,
the walk it up, or kind of like grab it by like
the handlebar,
the handlebar in the frame, and kind of like use that to kind of prop it up at least halfway, and then walk the rest forward too.
Yep.
There's lots of different techniques, but when I did drop my bike, I remember I basically had to deadlift it because I could not get an angle on it, because I was basically like the road and then like a hill here, and my bike was like wedged kind of like this.
Yeah.
Basically an upside down triangle for those that are listening, and my bike was like in the middle of it, so I couldn't really like squat or walk from this side nor from the other side, so I basically did have to deadlift it. And I remember like it took a good bit of strength to do it and
it's
stuff.
a big bike, so
yeah, after also like having to like wiggle my way from under it because my foot was kind of pinned under it too.
Yeah.
And I remember like, yeah, this is not something that is easily done.
Yeah.
Like you definitely feel the weight trying to lift it up. It does help that you're not like lifting the full, 500 pounds. You're at least just trying to tilt it back up on the wheel. So that weight's still on the ground, but it's still, I mean, a lot of the weight's on the top, so it's not the easiest.
Please don't try and lift your motorcycle off the ground. Just
it's not the whole thing. Just stand it up. The goal is to get it upright, not off the ground.
Yeah.
If you can get it off the ground, then props to you. You probably shouldn't even be listening to this episode.
R.I.P. to your back.
Yeah, you'll probably be fine.
Yeah.
But for the rest of us that are not strong men and women, we just use the proper technique. Mm-hmm. But even before that, like before riding, or when I got my first bike and stuff like that, kind of similar. I try to like stretch and limber up and stuff like that. I do get like my hips tend to like lock up sometimes if I like move my foot out a little too far. It has happened on like a few of our rides too. If I like move one, I don't remember if it's the right or left leg. One of them does it more than the other. But if I like stretch it too far, put too much weight on it, then I like go and sit down on like the bike, I can feel like one of the hips just wanted to kind of like not sit quite right. So I have to like pay attention to that.
Yeah. And I just want to like clarify too, like we're not telling you guys to go limber up before your rides. We don't do it now.
I barely ever limber up before anything and then regret it.
Maybe if it's a long ride, I'll do like something to kind of stay loose, maybe. But like it's just like, something to think about, like if you or I don't know, it's just food for thought.
Yeah, definitely. And even like, and I think it's a good practice in general if you're like on the long ride and stuff like that. Like when we rode to Colorado, every time we'd stop, we'd do like kind of stretch it out a little bit, like stretch your legs, walk around, get the blood flowing, because I mean, sitting in that position for a long period of time is not the best for your health and muscles and circulation and stuff like that. So even in the middle of a ride, it's
especially if you start to feel pins and needles, pull over.
Yeah, definitely pull over in that case. But I think like overall, it's just one of those things you kind of just have to know your level of fitness and kind of like what your like tolerance level is, to make sure that you take enough breaks and do like the necessarily stretching or exercising and stuff like that when you're planning on doing like a long ride or something.
Yeah. Just something, it is like more, I'd say it's more, I don't know. It's a good thing to do, for those long rides. But if you're riding around town, it can still be kind of good. I've noticed, like, especially as I get back into riding whenever we do get good weather. Yeah. I find my mind will kind of wander because I'm like tired or I'm hungry.
Yep. And you don't want that on a motorcycle.
No, especially if you're rusty.
Yeah, you want your mind to be focused on the ride, to paying attention to cars, traffic, make sure you don't get hit or hit someone.
Yeah, so it's really just like stuff. So just helping you like have a healthy mindset too, like, make sure you're not tired, that you're not riding on like a truly empty stomach.
Make sure you're also in the right headspace and stuff like that. Like if you're angry or frustrated or sad and stuff, those things can affect your like riding habits and stuff like that. And maybe potentially cause you to do something stupid or dangerous, and don't do that.
Well, maybe like motorcycle fitness isn't the right word for the topic. It's like healthy riding, I guess.
Maybe healthy riding. Yeah.
So
your health and riding.
Yeah. I don't feel good if I don't ride. So.
Same. I miss it so much. Riding those bikes today was just like such a breath of fresh air. Cause
like I said, man, we're just getting teased. Like,
I know. Yeah. It's not quite warm enough to do a proper ride, but it's so close to it. It's just edging right there.
It really is.
But we're halfway through February. Next month is March. it's probably we're probably soon that will shift. Soon we'll have more riding days than non-riding days versus now.
I hope it's not just going to be like nicer weather, but it's just dumping rain.
Or like last year was just going to dump like 5 feet of snow within the last week of March.
Oh my gosh. I know, right? And then in like the next day, it's just going to like be like 100 degrees outside. It's like no decent riding weather.
But I mean, with the way winter's been going now, I feel like March is going to be warming up fairly quick, so we might be able to squeeze in a decent ride here and there and put our health tips to the test.
So, and I think as we get closer to that, I think eventually we should maybe like put together something like about like getting your bike ready for riding season again. I don't know if we've done that. I can't remember.
I think we did something similar to it, but it'd probably be a nice little refresher.
Probably for us too.
So. Yeah, definitely. But also like just the fitness aspect of it or the health aspect of it, like physical and mental health are both important and affect one another. And I think you need to be pretty good for both. Probably mental, definitely more than physical. I mean, you don't have to be the most physically fit person to ride a motorcycle.
Hell no, of course not. No.
Like, if you're doing maybe like off-road riding and stuff like that,
you need a little bit more endurance.
It definitely. I mean, when I've ridden off-road before, you definitely feel your muscles like working because you're working to balance the bike, standing up on it and stuff like that, kind of moving with the bike. Versus road riding when it's kind of more leisure, you kind of just sit back and relax on it, or not really relax, but it's less involved compared to off-road riding. But mental-wise, like I feel like you need to be in the right headspace to ride, so you don't make potentially dangerous or deadly mistakes.
So it's just something to keep in mind for everybody. I guess that's what we're really just going for this one. So,
is there anything you like to do before like a ride to prepare for it, both mentally and physically?
I really just try to first of all make sure I'm awake, like properly awake. Use the restroom and again, like I've ridden on empty stomachs before. Or I have one stomach. I've ridden on an empty stomach.
Whoa, man!
I've ridden on an empty stomach before, and it's just not good. Like
it's not
even if
feeling.
You are awake, you're just there's something. Your reaction time is down. You're a little distracted from the hunger. That's just what I've noticed personally. So it's just, I need to make sure there's something in my stomach. I don't need a full course meal, but like I need some sort of sustenance,
like some kind of snack at least. And I know every time we do like a ride that's longer than just like an hour, like 30-minute jaunt, if you do like a full day ride, we always end up stopping at a gas station getting like protein shake or protein bars, something like that, like a bag of chips. Because you just need you gotta have something. I also drink a lot of water. Like before I go on the ride, especially in the summer, I always make sure to drink like a full glass of water. That way I'm at least somewhat properly hydrated. And if you do live in like a hot climate, like you will sweat that water out very fast. If you've been sweating all day and you don't have to pee during the day, you're dehydrated. You should probably drink like at least like not a gallon, but like
enough
40 ounces of water.
You should be drinking some water. And like one thing that helps too, this helps with drinking if you need to. So if you could drink like a Body Armor or something before.
Gatorade, Body Armor, Powerade, like any of those drinks full of electrolytes, those help out a lot. That's probably like one of my favorite.
But you have to drink water with those. You can't just drink that. They do have a lot of sodium. So you do want to drink water with or following. Well, I just have water with you at all times on the ride. Just drink water.
If your ride is longer than like a couple of hours, definitely have some water with you. And I don't know how I feel about telling grown people to drink water now, but that's honestly, I know some people that do not drink enough water throughout the day. So and I've had enough grown men tell me to drink water, and I'm just like, I know. That's fair. It's just it's a list item. We're not calling you guys out. So. If you don't drink enough water, that's on you. We're not your fathers and mothers. We're not your two dads. We might be. Who knows? But but we just stay healthy and safe. No, for real. Eat plenty of snacks. No one's gonna judge you if you're gouging down a bag of Cheetos at a gas station next to your bike. You probably look even cooler, actually.
Like that looks like a vibe I want to be in.
Right? Just like wearing your motorcycle gear, standing next to your bike, chowing down some bag of Cheetos.
Cheeto juice off your finger.
Yeah, exactly.
Cheeto dust off your fingers.
Yeah.
So.
You're on a motorcycle. Like, you're already cool enough. Like, no one's going to judge you after that.
Yeah, remember, and that's the biggest thing to take away. Everyone thinks you're cool on your motorcycle.
Exactly.
You're as cool as you think you are.
Yep. And if you buy one, if you're a guy and you buy one thinking you're going to get a lot of women interested in you, you're wrong. They're not going to be interested in you. All you're going to have interested in you are a bunch of grown men who are also into motorcycles.
Yeah.
It's a myth. Maybe it works for some people.
Yeah. Well, it's on the plus side of that, then you have the potential to make some really good new friends like we've done.
That is very true. Yeah, we made a lot of friends through motorcycling, which is awesome. Really we are friends because of motorcycling. Yeah. So, I don't know what else to add to
I think
the
that
fitness side of things.
This was just going to be another really chill episode because we do have like a more in-depth one coming up.
Yep. I'm excited for our next topic. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I think it's just good that we kind of reduced our own workload for a little bit so we can ramp up for this. So
yeah. Let's do a little maybe like summary of tips.
Yeah.
Little fitness tips. I would just say like
ideas, I guess.
Ideas. Yeah. I would say if you're new to riding or if you're just getting back into it or you bought a new bike, get a feel for it feel for the weight of it before you go out and like really ride it around. Yeah. Just in case, like feel like I really liked what you said, like tilt it as far as you can before it feels like it's too much for you to lift it up both ways to see like, okay, if it goes further than this, I'm going to have a bad time.
Well, it adds into like the balancing of a slow speed maneuver because you can kind of feel like, okay, that's feeling a little close to like what it was a little too much. I got to give it some gas. You know?
That's true too. Make sure you can actually like move it back and forth without the like engine on, so you can maneuver like either in and out of parking spaces or your driveway and things like that. Or maybe what happens if it dies? You need to at least be able to like push it back and forth and know how that feels. Yeah. So like all that kind of stuff.
And I guess this is more like a safety thing too. Like, okay, if you're in a slow speed maneuver or something, right, and you feel it start to go over, if as long as you don't kill the engine, you can also like help your knees and your back and your body, just give it some gas and straighten out.
Yep. That the bike won't want to straighten out.
The healthiest thing you can do is not drop the bike. So if you have the ability to not kill the bike and you can get it out of the friction zone and get moving, physics will take care of it for you.
Yep.
But in the event that it's a contingency. Yeah. If it dies, if you accidentally tap the front brake in a slow speed, then you can like hopefully catch yourself and not injure yourself. That's the goal. That's the goal.
Yeah, and you can injure yourself by, like you mentioned, with your leg, just by trying to catch it and stuff, especially if it's a bigger, heavier bike. If it's a little dirt bike, you'll probably be fine. Mm-hmm. But I think
now that I know better, if I had been smarter back when my bike almost went over, the smart thing to do would have been give it some gas and point downhill. The centrifugal force will stand me up.
Let it stand itself up. No, that makes sense. And I think my other advice would be like, just stretch, limber up, especially if you're doing a really long ride, and just take breaks. Mm-hmm. Take breaks too. It's like for touring and adventure riding specifically, but pretty much with any bike. If you feel like a body part of yours is starting to kind of like cramp up and stuff, you don't want that cramping up like in the middle of an emergency situation and stuff. So pull over, ride. Like no one's going to judge you if you need to stop for a second.
Yeah. Well, I know we've mentioned it when we've talked about our longer rides in the past. So if you're new, since that episode, like we've said it before, is like we did one really long ride where we didn't really take any breaks and we suffered.
Yeah. Like I called off work next day because I'm pretty sure I was dehydrated. So I was like running with a bad headache all day the next day.
And I was miserable riding back because we just tried to make it home.
Yep.
But then when we went to Colorado, we mapped it out. We would take a break every hour to half hour, sometimes two if there's nowhere to stop. But we would make those stops, and that goes.
It felt so much better because
even if it's like a 20, 15-minute stop.
Yeah.
It's just like
because by the time we got to Colorado, our final. Like to our hotel, I didn't feel like super exhausted. I was hungry, but I wasn't like dead ass tired.
Yeah, no, same. It's like I was hungry. I was like tired from the day, but I wasn't like my body wasn't tired.
Yeah.
So I think that's like the biggest thing to take away is just not exhausting yourself
No,
or
I
hurting
agree.
yourself.
Yeah.
So,
And know your own limitations and where your bike's limitations are, so you don't try to catch something that you might not be able to lift up or properly. Because
well, and I think, you know, and not to like preach, you know, but like I think for me and you, like when we start riding, like I don't think we're technically, we're not in like long distance riding shape right now.
probably not.
We're gonna have to like kind of work ourselves into it and get ready, you know. So,
and also like you were mentioning, if you feel your bike is dropping and stuff like that, it is instinct to catch it, but know that if you don't think you'll be able to hold it, like might just be better to let it drop.
Don't follow my example,
because it's much worse if you prevent it from dropping, but then like sprain your back to the point where you can't even like sit up on it.
Yeah, like looking back, I would much rather deal with a scratched up, dropped bike than a slip disc.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly.
Which I didn't have, but that could have happened.
It could have happened, and then you won't be riding at all.
Yeah.
So it's like you kind of have to know like that proper your own limit, and your limit's your own. We don't know what your limit is.
We're not your life coaches.
Yeah,
so
go talk to your doctor.
We're not trying to be. So I just got self conscious that this was a little preachy, but
yeah.
So.
Hopefully it's not. But yeah, I think that's kind of most of what I had.
That's mostly what I had, and yeah, again, go try the Street Triple RS.
Go try the Street Triple. That thing is awesome.
Yeah,
it's just bonkers.
It was fun.
Oh.
So
I want to go ride it again.
I know.
I want to go buy it. If you have a Street Triple RS, let us know and send us a picture of it, because it's a pretty awesome bike and we're very jealous of you.
Yeah. So that's about
sweet.
all I really had. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll see you in the next episode.